Good afternoon to everybody. Welcome back for the today's session. The today's session is attitude measurement and scaling techniques. So, what are the learning objectives of today's session? Learn about attitude and attitude measurement, learn about measurement scaling, and learn about different scaling techniques. So, first we have to know about what is attitude. An attitude is a point of view about a situation. Or simply you can say that attitude means the evaluation of the behavior or objects, any objects you can say that. A mental and neural state of readiness organized through experience, exerting and directed or dynamic influence upon the individual's response to all objects and situation with which it is related. That means what happened? Now, before you define anything, first you have to measure that. So, what is the behavior of that objects? Anywhere, any point of view, you can say that. Any research work, you can say that. When you start your research work for a particular situation, so at that time, what happened? What is the research behavior you have to identify? So, attitude is the major part of the research work. Then what is attitude measurement? The measurement implies that the process of obtaining information which can be subject to analysis. Attitude measurement relates to the process of measuring an individual's attitude towards an object. When we go for measurement of attitudes or any other parameters, one has to clearly sort out the following. What is this? Now, what has to be measured and who is to be measured? So that means whatever, when you start your research work for a particular topics, so at that time you have to find out that what we have to measure and how we have to measure, who will be measured. So you have to find out the some different questions. So accordingly, your measurement of your research work, and we have to identify the attitude of your research work. So that means what happened? Now in that cases, in particular research work, we have to analysis of your data in which basis. So that means what happened? Now what are the parameters we have to identify in here? Accordingly, we have to measure your attitude. So this attitude, how can you measure it? So for that cases, so we have to use some scales. In the basis of scales, we have to measure the attitude, or you can say that you have to measure your objects of your study. So there are likely four type of scales are there. One is nominal scale, one is ordinal scale, one is interval scale, and another one is ratio scale. In the basis of scale, so we have to measure the attitude or behavior of your research. So first we have to explain one by one. So what is the nominal scale, and what is ordinal scale, and what is interval scale, and what is ratio scale? In which situation, in which cases we are using the measure or we are using the scale, and how it measure the scale. This is called the measurement of scales. So first we are discussing about the nominal scale. Nominal scale is a very simple scale. This is a very simple scale and least powerful level of measurement. It consists of assignment of facts or choice to various alternative categories, which are usually exhaustive as well as mutually exclusive. These scales are just numerical and are the least restrictive of all the scales. The nominal scale simply allow the categorization of responses into a number of mutually exclusive categories. So in here, what we have to find out that? Now suppose that the question is, what is your gender? The question is male and female. So in here, we have to categorize it. So what is the male and what is the female? So that means gender, we can say other is there also, but generally we are taking the two. What is your gender, male or female? This is nominal scale. How do you stock item at present? By product category, at a centralized store, a departmental wise, or a single warehouse. So this is a category. So we have to find out what is that. That is the behavior of the your research or behavior of the questions. where when any questions or when asking any question according to their behavior of the questions, so you have to measure the scale. Suppose that what is your gender? Gender means generally whatever scale is two only. So that is one is male, another is female. So we can do simply we have to take these two. How do you stock items at present? So we can categorize it by product category, a centralized store or departmental wise or singular. You can measure in other way also. Yes or no? So in these cases, for suppose I am giving another examples in here. In gender cases, you can take male, female, and others. Suppose hair color. In your hair color, what type of hair color or what should be the hair color for any person? So you can write brown, black, blonde, red, and others. Maybe you can take type of living. So where he is living, house or apartment or tailor or others. So you can find out this one. Religious. What is the religious of the peoples or persons? So you can Buddhist, Muslim, Jewish, Christian, and others. You can say. So anyone you have to measure it. How can you measure the scale? Similarly, the ordinal scale. Ordinal scales are the simplest attitude measuring scale used in research. It is more powerful than the nominal scale, in that the number of process, the property of the rank orders, the ranking of the certain product attributes, benefits as deemed important by the respondents is obtained through the scale. The ordinal scale allows the respondent to rank some alternatives by some common variables. Now, suppose we can say that rank the following attributes 1 to 5 or their importance in the microwave oven. Company name, functions, price, comfort, design. We are measuring this type of 1 to 5. Someone telling that we can measure 1 to 10. Someone measure that you have to measure 1 to 3. So in the basis of when in ordinal scale when we are taking the scaling, so at that time we have to measure the attributes. Either 1 to 5 scale you can take or 1 to 3 scale, 1 to 7, 1 to 9, 1 to 10. As per the requirement of your research work, you have to take it. So this is another example we can take that one can ask respondent questions on the basis of one or more attributes such as flower, color, etc. and ask about liking or disliking, whether the respondent likes soft drinks or not. Suppose I am the question to the peoples or the person, whether the respondent or any people, are you like soft drinks? The simple question is yes or no, but we are not taking like this. So we are taking in different mode or different way, but we are taking some specific scales. What is the scales? Now suppose we are taking strongly, I strongly like it. What is the soft drinks? I strongly like it. Soft drinks, I like it. Soft drinks, I am different. We cannot say I dislike it. I strongly dislike it. So that means what happened in here we are categorize the five items. One is strongly like, I like it, I am different or cannot say, or natural or normal you can say that. I am dislike, I am strongly dislike. So in these cases what happened if you are taking in numerically, so strongly, I strongly like it, this is plus 2. I strongly like, I strongly dislike it, we are taking minus 2. I dislike it, minus 1. I like it, plus 1. I am different, 0. So that means what happened? Now 0 is I am different or natural, like normal, like this, you can say that. So in the mathematically, we can take the ranking basis. What is the rank? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like this. But ranking generally starting from the 1. But in here, we are not taking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We are taking some positive part, we are taking some negative part. If neutral, and this is equal to, we can take this is equal to 0. So that's why in the ordinal scale, what happened? We are taking like 5-point scale. 1, 0 is 1 scale, plus 1 is 1 scale, minus 1 is 1 scale, plus 2 is 1 scale, minus 2 is 1 scale. So accordingly, we can define it. 0, neutral or I am different, plus 1, I am like it, minus 1, I dislike it, plus 2, I strongly like it, and minus 2, I strongly dislike it. You can be also in other way, also you can say that. Suppose you can put how are you? Suppose in question you are giving, One question, how are you? If you are placing the ordinal scale, then what happened? Very good, good, natural, bad, earth. So this is the 5 point scale. 0 is natural, but normal. Good. Another one is very good, positive side, negative side, bad, and earth. So this is the 5 point scale. And suppose ranking cases in here. In here, what happened? Strongly like it, different dislike, and strongly dislike. But in here, if you are using other way, in ranking cases, school ranking cases, or position, you can say that you are studying in the classes. So, what is your ranking? What is your position? First position, second position, third position, ninth position, 21st position, etc., etc., etc. So, this is also one, you can say, scaling category. Ordinal, what is, you can say, ordinal scale. Status, what is your status? Either poor or middle or rich. So this is 3 point scale. In Likert scale, you can know that Likert scale what happened? Now strongly disagree, neutral, agree, strongly disagree. So if you are taking this type of scaling or scale, this is called the Likert scale. Agreement, suppose agreement, we can say that agreement. Yes, maybe, no. We can. So do you have any agreement? Suppose question is given that, do you have any agreement? Maybe yes, maybe, I don't know, or no. If you know, then no, say no. Time, similarly, what time you are doing your work, or what time you are doing your study, either morning or noon or afternoon or evening or other times. So this type of scaling is very, very essential when you start your research work. And this is important. Without scaling, you cannot do it, because when you go for your research work, or when you are going for your data analysis, so at that time, when you collect your data, some scale basis we have collect the information. Otherwise, it is very difficult to collect the information. So that's why the scaling is very, very important when you go for the data collection. Last class I told you. And another one is very, very important. This is interval scale. The deficiencies of the nominal and ordinal scales are taken care of in the interval scale. So those scaling or scaling techniques are lacking in nominal scale and the ordinal scale. So at that time, we are using the interval scale. And this scale has an arbitrary 0 point with number of placed at equally appearing intervals. A number of statistical operations, including addition, subtraction, and computation of the mean, can be done in interval scale data. So that means what happened? Now sometime we are taking in here in nominal scale and ordinal scale. Nominal scale generally we are using everywhere. But here ordinal scale what happened? Now we are using some criteria parameters are there. But other part is what happened? Now same interval may not be there. So in the same interval, if you are using in your techniques, in scaling techniques, and that time what happened? Now all the intervals are same. Mostly the nominal and ordinal type of scales are used in additive measurement. However, there are attempts to trade them or convert them into interval scales so as to make the data more amenable to statistical operation. So if you are using this interval scale techniques for your research work, then what happens? It will be easy for your statistical operation. What is statistical operation? Statistical operation means that so you have to use your data properly, and you have to use your data, analysis your data in systematically. Use your data properly and analyze your data systematically. For example, how do you rate your present refrigerator for the following qualities? Listen, this two is there. One is less known and another is well known. Combine them. Suppose you can say that less known. If less known is given, then functions are, what are the functions? Few. If well known is given, what are the functions? Is many. Price. If less known means price should be low. You cannot write high. If well known means the price may be high. Design poor. Design good. Overall satisfaction very satisfied. Overall satisfaction very satisfied. That means in here what happened? Now as per the questions, you have to write your answer. As per the questions, you have to make your scaling. So if your scaling is wrong, entire research process will be wrong. Is obviously your data is that if your scaling techniques is wrong, that means accordingly your data collection should be wrong. If your data is wrong, so it should be not reliable. If it is not reliable, you cannot analyze your data. If your data is not analyzed, you cannot find out your new investigation or new solution. So for that cases, what happen? Now, when you use your scaling technique, the scaling should be appropriate. That means which scale should be required to collect your data. Another example I am giving: customer satisfaction is a key growth of the organization. Customer satisfaction is key growth of the organization. So you asking this statement to the person, any person you can say that. So that means what is his answer? Either he is completely agree, or somewhat agree, or natural, or somewhat disagree, or completely disagree. That means what happened? Now, if you are asking the question, customer satisfaction is key growth of the organization, if simply you can say yes or no. But if you are taking yes or no, the analysis is not more appropriate. So for that cases, what happened? Now we have to use the specific scale techniques. So in here, completely agree. The question is one component is there. Somewhat agree, little bit agree. Natural, obviously. Customer satisfaction is a key to the organization. It is natural. Someone is telling that somewhat disagree. No, it may be or may not be. Complete disagree. Definitely. Totally it is not impossible. It is impossible. So in these cases, what happened? Now we have to collect the information from the respondent with the measuring of the scaling techniques, and this is called the interval techniques. Then the last one is ratio scales. The ratio scales are not widely used in research unless a base item is made available for comparison. So generally what happened in our educational research, or equals our educational study, generally you are using two type of scale. One is Likert scale and one is interval scale. This is very, very important. And sometimes we are using the nominal scale, or sometimes we can say that simple cases or simple answer questions cases we can use the nominal scale. But ratio scale has the natural 0 point and further number of placed at equally appearing intervals. For example, scales for measuring physical quantities like length, weight, or etc. Their ratio scales are very common in physical scenario. For example, what is your weight in kilogram? Less than 50 kg, 51 to 70 kg, 71 to 90 kg, 91 to 110 kg, more than 110 kg. That means what you have seen in here. This is one ratio. Ratio means what happened? Less than 50 kg after 51 to 70. What is the interval? 19 interval. Next question is 71 to 90. You cannot take 71 to 100. If it is you are taking, this is not appropriate. The intervals should be changed. Next one is 91 to 120, 110. That means everywhere the differences is 90, 90, 90. 19, not 90, 19, 19. And last one is more than 110 kg. So this, in this way, if you are taking the ratio scale, so that means what happened? The interval should be same. So there is no disparity between the data collection of data and your analysis. In your research work, what happened? Now, if your data is not systematic or your design is not systematic, then is difficulties to facing when you are starting your research work. Similarly, we can use these techniques in the age cases, weight cases, height cases, sales cases, measurement cases, income cases, education cases. Age cases means how can you implement the ratio scale? Now, suppose age is we are taking how many age group of the students are smoke more. So at the time, what happened? Now you have to check the ratio scales, or sometimes you can say that interval scale. So in that case, what happened? Now you have to define the age group, and you have to categorize the age group. The age group, suppose less than 10, one group, then 10 to 20, another group, 20 to 30, another group, 30 to 40, another group, 40 to 50, another group, more than 50, another group. So this is the intervals, or you can say the ratio scales. That means the interval should be 10, 10, 10, 10 like this. But exactly if you are taking 10 to 20, that means you take 21 to 30. So if you are taking like this, the interval should be changed. One is 10, one is 9. So it should be, you can take 10 to 19, 20 to 39, 29, 32, 39, 42, 49, 49 to 59, more than 50. So this is the interval scale. Similarly, weight. What should be the weight of the particular classes of the students? So we have to again take weight means, now suppose less than 10 kg or less than 20 kg, 20 to 30 kg, 30 to 40 kg, 40 to 50 kg. Like this you can take. Interval should be same. Or it will be good you are taking 20 less than 10 kg, 10 to 19, 20 to 29, 30 to 39, 40 to 49 kg, 49 to 50 to 59 kg, and more than 59 kg. Like this you can take also. Similarly, height, you categorize. Cells. Cells means what happen? Now, what should the cells of your of the particular product? If you are taking, now suppose you are that is a manager or a sales manager of any organization, when they are asking to that is find out that what should the sales of our product within this month. So at the time, what happened? Now sales can be repeated with the number of quantity, or quantity can be measured like this: more than 100 products, 100 to 20 or 200 products, 200 to 300 products, 300 to 400 products, or more than 500 products. Like this, you can take it. You can find out that now in the first week, our product will be sales 100 to 200 products we will sell, and next week it will be increased 200 to 300. Next week, last week we have find out that the product will the selling of the product is that is 300 to 400. So similarly, you can find out. Simple measurement, you can say income cases. What should be your income? Income is between suppose yearly income. What is the yearly income of the employees of this organization? Suppose category A employees, category B employees, category C or category D employees. You have no idea about it. You have to collect the information from the particular organization. So at the time, what happened? The income should be suppose less than 2 lakhs, 2 to 3 lakhs, 3 to 5 lakhs, 5 to 9 lakhs. Like this, also you can measure this way. So at the time, what happened? There is some interval we have to find out. The one is 2 lakhs, 2 lakhs to 4 lakhs, 4 to 6 lakhs, 6 lakhs to 8 lakhs, 8 lakhs to 10 lakhs, and more than 10 lakhs. Similarly, your education cases, or you can say qualification. What should the qualification? Less than high school classification, or less than graduation, or post graduation, or more than post graduation. Like this, you can take the interval also. So this is the generally what happened. The scale of 4 scale, one is nominal scale, one is ordinal scale, and one is interval scale, and another one is ratio scale. So now we have to find out what is the scale measurement of the 4 scale. One is basis characteristics, one is permissible statistics. What statistics generally we are telling that. So when in the basis of scaling techniques, if you are collecting the data for our research analysis, then what is the basis characteristics there, and what are the permissible statistics we are using for the particular scale. Suppose we are collecting the information with the help of nominal scale, then what is the possible statistics? If you are taking in the basis of ordinal scale and collect the information, then what type of statistics required? If you are taking the interval cases, and if you are taking for the ratio scale cases, then what are the characteristics and what are the permissible statistics we are using? This is called scale of measurement. In nominal scale, what are the basic characteristics? The number of identify and classify objective. Simply, example: social security numbers, numbering of the football players. Like this, these examples. Or we are giving the examples in nominal scale. What will be the gender? Either male or female we are taking. In marketing cases, if your example, the brand numbers and store type in nominal scale. Brand numbers, brand 1 or brand 2 or brand 3, like this. Store capability, high or medium or low. So in that cases, what happened? What type of statistics we are using in there? So you know that in statistical, generally we are using in statistical technique, one is descriptive, one is inferential. In descriptive, generally we are using the percentage of mode like this, and inferential chi-square and binomial test. So generally our research work, generally we are using the chi-square test. Yes, sir. Manual test we are not using. This is a probability, non-probability methods. So generally we are using the chi-square test. In here we are using the percentage, or you can say sometime we can use the mode. Similarly, the ordinal cases, number of indicate the relative position of the objects but not the magnitude of difference between them. In ordinal cases, what happens? Now, when we are collecting the information, so in the relatively position, or we can use these techniques for the purpose behavior of the objects. So that means quality of the product or quality of the that is what is education. So at the time what happened? Now we are collecting the information for a ranking basis. You can say that. Yes or no? Ranking basis means some rank should be there. Ranking of team in it, or like that is tournament cases, or you can say cricket player rank basis, rank one, rank two, rank three. Sometimes you can say that in ICS, what is the BCI, they are giving the ranking of the cricket team, rank one, rank two, rank three, rank four, rank five, like this. The SACO is going on now also. Yes or no? So you can see, find out that in the out of 6 team, who is the rank one as per the BCCI. Yes or no? The rank one is suppose Pakistan, rank two is Australia, rank three is India, like this. Rank four is New Zealand, like this. The rank is given. So in that cases, what happened? Now generally we are using very much statistics. What is na correlation and ANOVA, analysis of variance. So what is why we using the correlation? So that means in that cases in ordinal scale when we are collecting the information, so we have to find out that those data we are collecting from the respondents or from the person. So what should be the correlation between the data? So we are measuring in here, but in nominal cases we cannot measure this one. Why? Now the variation should be less, but in an ordinal scale the variation should be high. So when you are collecting the information or when you are collecting the data, at that time the variation should be more, like this: strongly agree, natural, strongly disagree, and strongly disagree. So this is the variation should be more, but in nominal cases the variation should be less, maybe 2 or maybe yes or no, like this the question should be comes. Similarly, the interval cases, what happen? The difference between the object differences or the variation between the objects should be more. Suppose temperature cases we can say that, age cases we can say that, weight cases you can say that, income cases we can say that. So this is the common examples. In marketing point of view, marketing example, attitudes, options, index, in the financial term which we are using in here. So at that time also we can take we can use the interval scale. So what is the permissible statistics? Which statistics we are using in here? Permissible statistics mean which type of statistics we are using in here. In my mean range, mean, and standard deviation. Standard deviation means those standard deviation is less, and this is the variation should be less. Yes or no? Statistics is a product movement, you can say that, or the variation between the data. So we have to measure in the particular statistics. And in the ratio scale, by ratio scale we can say that. So in this scale, what happens? The value can be compared. If you are comparing the value of the data, so at that time what happens? Now we are using generally ratio scales. For example, we are giving that age, sales, income, and cost. Age, sales, income, also you are using the interval scale, and also you can use the ratio scale. Nearly same for both interval and ratio scale. Some similar objectives or similar research work. So that means generally what happen is geometry means generally we are using. So in your that is financial sector, or you can say that your stock market we are using. Harmonic means generally you are using the accident of the particular places. So at that time also we are using the harmonic mean. This is called the reciprocal of the average or mean. Reciprocal of the mean, we can say that. And statistical we are using the coefficient of variation. If the coefficient of variation is less, then what happens? This is more appropriate than others. So generally what happens? This is the scale of measurement. Generally you are using which statistics and which statistics should be required. So question is given that is statistics is required for the research work? Yes, it is 100% true. And which statistics we are using for our any research work? It will be depending on your objectives. And when you are collecting your data from the markets or from the respondents, it should be depending on the scale. Without scale, we cannot measure the data, and without scale, we cannot analyze your data. So this is very, very important. Before you collecting any data or before you collecting your data for your research work, first you have to identify that which measurement is required or which scaling techniques is required to our data collection. So for that's why what happened, now we are giving among the four nominal, ordinal, interval, ratio. So another so many techniques are there to collect the data for your research work and for the data analysis. Now let us see, we are discussing this one. So now what is scaling? The term scaling is applied to the attempts to measure the attitude objectively. Attitude is a restaurant of number of external and internal factors. Depending upon the attitude to be measured, appropriate scales are designed. Scaling is a technique used for measuring quantitative responses of respondents, such as the related to their feelings, perception, likes, dislikes, interest, and preferences. So what happened? Now scaling, why you are using the scaling in our research work, and how why it is important. Scaling is, if you are doing your research work, our major aim is what happened. Now we have to analysis and we have to interpret the results and we have to find it a new development or new theory or new solution. So for that cases what happened? Now sometimes we can take the collect the data either qualitative or by the quantitative. So if qualitative data you have to collect from the respondents, at that time scaling is not required at all. Why? Now just you have discuss with them or by the observation method you collect the information and you analyze your data and find out the solution. But in the quantitative nature or in quantitative techniques, what happened? Now at that time, in the which basis you have to collect the information. So for that cases, scaling is required. Without scaling, you cannot find out your accurate solution. You can find out the solution, but it is not accurate. Why not accurate? If you collect the data means interpretation is required. If interpretation is required means analysis is required. If analysis is required means the conclusion is required. If conclusion is required means so you have to find out your solution. So this process is very, very important, or this scaling is very, very important when you analyze your data. What are the decisions you take? What level data is involved, either nominal, ordinal, interval, or ratio? What will the result be used for? What will the result be used for? When you find out any result for your analysis, for your research work, where you are using this one, it will be used for what? Should you use a scale, index, or typology? Index typology, forget this one. Should you use a scale for your data collection or for your analysis? What type of statistical analysis would be useful? So when you want to go for data analysis or when you are going for data collection, what type of analysis is required? Should you use a comparative scale for or non-comparative scale? So that means when you are taking the scale or when you are using the scale is two types. One is comparative scale, one is non-comparative scale. We are discussing later. How many scale division or categories should be used? 1 to 10 or 1 to 7 or -2 plus 3? Listen. That means what happened? Now suppose any researchers, they want to research work, they want to research their study. So at that time what happened? Now so many questions are coming. Always I am discussing last class that research design is very, very important. Why research design is very, very important? Just to listen this one, remember this one. Now as a researchers or investigator, you can say that when they are doing their research work, so you have to remember that, or they have to remember that each research is proper or this is acceptable by the researchers. This is the first question. When you are taking this research work or research study, it is acceptable. Suppose I am taking everyone. This is what is everyone know that sun rises in the east. Yes, yes. If I am taking the that is what the topics. No, I want to prove that sun rises in the west. Logically, it is not accepted. Why? Now already this theory already developed that sun rises in the east. So that means what happened? Now some researcher you can say that he is mad, that's why he is choosing like this type of topics. Or they are laughing for topics. But unless until if you are not proving this one, so your research is wrong. So that's why before you start your research work, you have to design your research work. Design means first one is selection of topics. Your topics should be accepted. That means what happen? Now your research topics should be appropriate or hypothetically it is true. So that's why we are taking in your research work, that is hypothesis, whether you are using your null hypothesis or alternative hypothesis. This is for hypothesis. Hypothetically it is true, number one. And number two, if your topic is correct, then what should be your objectives? In the basis of objectives, you can define your hypothesis. Yes or no? So that means what happened? The objective, what objective you have to find out? That means what happened? Now those are lacking of research work. This should be your objectives. So in the basis of objective, you have to put your hypothesis. After you are putting your hypothesis, then what methodology you are using for your research work? If your methodology is wrong, entire process is wrong. So that's why what happened? Before you go for the methodology, in this methodology, what happened? What is required? Now one is sample and sampling design. Sample means what type of samples we need or what type of sample data we need to start your research work. So at that time, what happened? Now we are using this scale. Yes. So when you are taking this sample of data, so what is the sample designing is there? In between the sample designing, so we can use this scales also. So that means what happened? Now in what type of scales you are using for the data collection? For the data collection, we are using what is? Now one is questionnaire and one is sample. So questionnaire design we are details discussing in the next unit, and the sample design next unit. Yes, we are discussing. So in here what happened? Now when you are going for the data collection, at that time this scaling construction decision should be required. So that means what happened? Now which type of scale you are using for your data collection, and this scaling where you are using? Now we are using in your questionnaire. So after you prepare a questionnaire, then what sample design you are using at that time? How can you collect the information? What is your sample or what is your sampling design? So at that time we are discussing this one. Yes or no? Next point is that when you scale division means if you are collecting your data in which scale? Ordinal scale, nominal scale, interval scale, or ratio scale. If you are taking interval scale or ordinal scale or ratio scale, so what should be the, that is what is categorized. The 5-point scale you are taking, or 7-point scale you are taking, or 10-point scale you are taking. What type of scaling you are taking? Should there be a odd or even number for the divisions? Odd gives neutral central value, even process respondent take the non-neutral position. Sometimes you can take the neutral, sometimes or you cannot take the neutral. But interval cases, you have to take the neutral cases. Because neutral cases is very, very important because you have to next positive or we have to take the next negative. What should be the nature and descriptiveness of the scale level be? What should be the physical form of layout of the scale be? Graphic, simple, linear, vertical, horizontal. Should be a response be forced to the left option? Sometimes what happens, this is the nature of research work, you are using this question. But these are the decisions you have to take before you have to take the decision for your data collection and your analysis. So now we have to classify the scaling techniques. So what are the classification of scaling techniques? So there are two types of scaling techniques are there. One is comparative techniques and another one is non-comparative techniques. So comparative techniques, what are the techniques are there? Pairwise comparison scale, RAS model scaling, rank ordering, Bogardus social distance scale, Q-sort, Gottman scale, constant sum scale, magnitude estimation scale. Out of 8 comparative techniques, so all the techniques not we are using in your sample our research work. So generally we are using the pairwise comparison scale, rank ordering, and Q-sort you can say, and constant sum scale. These are the most important scale we are using. And other that is scaling techniques generally we are not by using in our educational research work or social research work. So in the basis of the scientific research work, generally they are using the RAS model, or you can say the Bagradus social distance scale, Bottoman scale, and the magnitude estimation scale. So all techniques not required, I think, in your specially research methodology. So those are required. We are discussing later on. Second one is non-comparative techniques. In a non-comparative techniques, what happen? Now one is continuous rating scale, a Likert scale, a phase completion scale, semantic differential scale, staple scale, Shoston scale, and mathematically derived scale. So in your if this non-comparative techniques, generally you are using the like Likert scale and semantic differential scale and the staple scale. And others technique generally we are not using in this level. The higher level we are using very important. This is the phase completion scales or Thornton scales or mathematical derived scales. But in your social research or research methodology, generally we are using the Likert scale, continuous rating scale. Sometimes we are using and the staple scale also. Sometimes we are using, but very less. But more important techniques in here, non-comparative techniques is Likert scale, and for the comparison is the rank ordering. These two is very important. So generally we are using these two techniques. So now discussing one by one. First one is pair-wise comparison scale. Pairwise comparison generally refers to any process of comparing entities in pairs to judge which of each pair is preferred or has a greater amount of some quantitative property. Suppose this is the variables given A, B, C, D, E, A, B, C, D, E. So in here you have to find out the comparison. Comparison means what happened? Now we have to find out the relationship between the variables. Suppose A is a variables. What is the relationship? Now the relationship is zero because A we cannot measure the we cannot compare. We compare with the different objects. A to B we can compare, A to C we can compare, A to D we can compare, A to E we can compare. Similarly, B to A, B to B we cannot compare it, B to C, B to D, and B to E. C to A, C to B, C to D, C to E, D to A, D to B, D to C, D to E, E to A, E to B, E to C, E to D. So that means you can that in the triangle, in the angle A dot is there, so that is there is no relationship between the variable. So we cannot measure in here. So the variable means what is the relationship between variable? Now same object we cannot find out the relationship. So in different object we can find out the relationship, and we have to measure the scale is there. This is 90%, 64%, 14%, 27%, B to A 10%, B to B 0, B to 0. We can say that there is no relationship, not 0 exactly. C to C similarly 0, not relationship. D to D similarly, E to E similarly, and these values, all the values are the what is the relationship between the variable, and we can generally we can use the pairwise comparison scaling techniques. Then rank ordering. A ranking is a relationship between a set of items such that so many two items, the first is either ranked higher than or ranked lower than or ranked equal to the second. So that means suppose that is given or the brand is given chocolate, then Pepsodent, Close Up, Plus White, Meswak, Neem, Babur, and Prestige. So these are the some brand is there. So what is the rank? So when you are asking to any respondent, so go for the ranking wise of your brand. So this brand is given. One is Colgate, one is Pepsodent, one is Close Up, Plus White, and Meswak, Neem, Babur, and Prestige. So go for your rank. So that is what is this is a brand of the toothpaste. So if it is the toothpaste, so what is your rank? Babul, Meswak 2, then Close Up 3, then Pepsodent 4, Colgate 5. How many toothpaste brand is given? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So out of 8, one respondent they are asking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They are not given the rank. Other person you can say that they are asking maybe the Babul is not number 1, maybe Colgate is number 1, Pepsodent is number 2, or Neem is number 3, like this. So that means what happened? So in here what happened? Now when we are using this rank ordering, what happened? Now easily you can collect the information from the respondent for the analysis. So if you are not given like this ranking order, then whatever it is very difficult to find out that which type of toothpaste are peoples are like, or in your market, what type of brand of the toothpaste are more demanded. So you can measure this one. So generally, in these cases, whatever branding cases or brand cases, generally you are using the rank order. Q short. The Q-sort technique is used for discriminate among the large number of objectives quickly. It uses a rank order procedure and the objects are sorted into piles based on similarity with respect to some criteria. So that means what happens? Now suppose in here very small number of that is product is given 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. So a large number is given. Then how can you find out this one? So further cases what happen? Now we have to prefer the like your Likert scale. Prefer must, like, neutral, dislike, and prefer least. So which type of product they are using more, which type of product they are using less. So in these cases, what happen? Now we are using this one. Uh, what is that is a product category, and with the product and use the objects, number of objectives. Quickly you can measure it. Or prefer must. Suppose what happen? Now in here we are writing a rank order, colligate. The rank is 5. But in here what happened? Now we are giving the product 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Which product you are prefer most? They have to prepare 1, 2, 3, 4 like this. Which product you have to like more? Which product you have to dislike? Which product you have to prefer least? So you can measure in here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is given, product category is given 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So they have to put this category of the product. Prefer most 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 9 category is there or 9 product is there. Prefer most means 1, 2 or 3 or 4 like this they have to prefer it. So you have to put in here the brand. Yes or no? So similarly in continuous rating scale, the continuous rating scale is a form of which the manager simply checks of the employee's level of the performance. This is the oldest and most widely method used for performance appraisal. Suppose that in here what happened? Now we have to given for examples, that is for the particular product you are asking the question to the respondent that how much you are, but how, what is the quality of this product? Suppose you are using Colgate. So you are asking the question to the respondent that so what is the quality of this particular product? Someone they can not unsatisfactory, they can be fair, they can say I am very much satisfactory, or another person they go yes very good or good, or another person they are asking that they are answering the question that is more outstanding. Yes or no? Is it good? Suppose in your education system cases, suppose examination, when you find out the result. So what is the result of your particular students? Suppose in your organization, and the percentage of passing of your organization is suppose 80%. So when you are asking the question to your principals of that particular organization, so that how are you what about your performance of the schools? If you are asking the questions, maybe if he is not satisfied, maybe the answer is unsatisfactory, maybe fair, maybe satisfactory, maybe good, or maybe outstanding. Yes or no? So this will be depending on the because of why it is outstanding, they will give the answer. Yes or no? So outstanding, good, satisfactory, fair, and unsatisfactory, it will be depending on the performance of the organization. What should be the inputs and what will be the outputs? In the basis of inputs, they have given the performance. If output is very high, my performance is less, then you cannot say that it is outstanding. If input is less, performance is high, you can say that it is outstanding. So like this, you can use the continuous. Then another one is this is uncomparable the scaling techniques, non-comparable techniques that Likert scale. The Likert scale, all of you know that the respondents are asked to indicate a degree of agreement and disagreement with each of the series of statements. Each scale item has 5 responses, categories ranging from strongly agree and strongly disagree. So that means what happened? Now, if you are asking any questions, so that the Colgate toothpaste is better than the other toothpaste, you are asking the questions to the respondents. Maybe strongly agree, maybe this is questions, maybe agree if your statement, maybe indifferent, maybe disagree, maybe strongly disagree. It is depending on the respondent choice. You cannot say that yes or no or like this. So in your Likert scale is very, very important for your every organization or for the every researchers or research organization, you can say that. is very very important. What happen now? Basically, when you are going for educational social research at that time, what happen now? This Likert scale is very very important. It is widely useful for your research work. So accordingly, this one you have to collect the information. Then another one is semantic difference scale. Semantic difference scale question scale for the bipolar pair of the adjectives between which the respondent must choose along some from the scaling, typically a 5-point scale. So generally what happen now, if you are using this Likert scale, similarly also you can use this statement: very much, somewhat, neither, somewhat, or very much. So that means basically suppose that suppose you are when you are measuring the quality of the product. So that means you have to asking the question to the your respondents or your customers. Suppose that, are you satisfied with a product, Samsung product, in the basis of the service facility? Suppose that, or are you satisfied with the Samsung service facilities? Someone say that very much. Someone say that somewhat. Someone say that neither. Someone say that somewhat, very much. So that means what happened? Now, this is depending on as per your questions. Because if you are using this type of question, that means what happened? You can easily collect your information. And sometimes also enjoyable. You can use this one. Likeable, noisily, or silly. This type of you can use this one. Or boring, challenging, fascinating, ridiculous. So this is depending on your situation. What type of questions you are asking to your respondents. So in the basis of in this basis of we have to collect the information, and always this type of when you are using the semantic difference scale, it should be 5-point scale, not less than 5 point or not more than 5-point scale generally we are using, but we are using the 5-point scale like your Likert scale. Likert scale and semantic scale both are same type of scaling techniques, but we have to use the different what is the choices to the customers or to the respondent to answer your questions. Then another one is staple scale. Staple scale similar to the semantic differential scale, except that points on the scale are identified by numbers. Only one statement is used, and if the respondent disagree, the negative number should be marked, and there are 10 positions instead of 7. So generally what happen in your other scaling techniques, we are taking the 5-point scale, 7-point scale like this. But in your staple scale, generally you are using the 10-point scale. Generally you are using, and it should be the number. You are not mentioning that the number, mentioning the +5 to -5. Why? Now your high quality, if high quality, after that the positive part is what? And after that the negative part is what? Poor quality. What is the poor quality negative positive part? And what is the poor quality negative part? So you have to use these techniques by the point of view, because why, if you are using like this staple scale techniques, then why the analysis should be very good. But generally what happens, this staple techniques is difficult, because if you are using these techniques, so you have to collect the more information, and the research process would be the lengthy process in there, because you have to segregate the part, the what is positive part, what is the negative part. And generally what happens, this is in what is long-term cases, research cases, generally we are using the staple cases, but generally we are using these two: semantic difference scale, Likert scale. This is the widely used and very very important for these techniques. So, and continuous rating scale is also is very very important. The continuous rating scale, another one is Q-sort, rank ordering, and your semantic differential scale. So these 4 and 5 techniques generally is very very important for your research or for researchers, or you can say investigator, and for the educational research work also. This is very very important. So I am giving one example. Suppose that your faculty or your organization want to give a topic for your research work. Either it may be live project, or it may be your summer project, or it may be your you can say that internship like this. So at that time when you are choosing your or selecting your topics, so at that time what happened? Now they given the task to you that first to collect the information from the market or from the respondent, then you start your research work. So before this one, your faculty members give the task to or you that first to design your research work. So design research work, why, for what basis? Now first you have to find out that why you are selecting your topics. Each topic is authentic for your research study, or this should be acceptable by the researchers. So that means what happens before you select your topics, first you have to find out that what are the problem arises or what difficulties you are facing for the particular situation. So in the basis of, so you have to collect the information. So when you are collecting the information, in which basis you have to collect the information? Suppose yesterday, last class I have discussing about that how to build up the quality education of your organization. So if your quality education for your organization means what happen? Now first you have to find out that who are your target peoples. Target peoples, who are the target audience? Who are the target audience? Now your B school. In your B school, who will, what are the sampling frame? Or you can say from where you have to collect the data. Data you have to collect for three parts. One is student, one is faculty, and one is head of the organization. So when you are collecting the data from the students or faculty members and your head of the institution or principal or director, all the questions are not the same category. Student questions are different, faculty questions are different, and principal or director, their question is different. So when you want to collect your data from the student, so at that time what type of data, what type of questions you have to ask them, and what should be the scale of the particular questions. This is very, very important. When you are asking the question to any respondents or any persons, at that time what type of questions you are using and what should be the scale. Sometimes you are using the scale ordering, sometimes you are using the summative differential scale, and sometimes you are using the Likert scale, sometimes you are using the continuous rating scale, sometimes you are using the rank ordering scale, and these techniques are very, very important. So these techniques is useful regard as per your basis of the questions. According to your questions, you have to use your scale. All the questions are not the same scale. If you are asking your percentage, you are using the Likert scale? No, this is wrong. Yes or no? So is continuous rating scale? Maybe it is true. Are you satisfied with your marks in the B school? So that means at that basis you have to use the continuous rating scale. So if you are satisfied with your organization, at that time you are using the continuous rating scale. So if you are asking with year, that is, suppose what will be the year age? So at that time you are not using the continuous rating scale. You are using the either Likert scale you can use, or you can use the rank ordering case. And some product cases, if you are asking suppose that education. So are you satisfied with your education with in your college? So at the time what happens? Sometimes question is yes or no. But if you are using some special scale, yes, satisfactory, unsatisfactory, that means which scale? So this is called the continuous rating scale. Or sometimes what we can use the Likert scale, or sometimes use the summative differential scale. So that means what happens? Now these scaling techniques depending on your research work and your research design. And your research design is very, very important before you are implementing your summative or your scaling techniques. So today we are discussing about here what is attitude, what is measurement scale, what is the scaling techniques, and which scaling techniques is very, very essential for your research work. I think all of you know that, and I think if you are doing your research work anywhere, so you should implement this scaling techniques. Which one is properly suitable for your research questions? According to research questions, you have to use your different scale and you collect for the you go for the data collection. Okay, thank you for today. And next class we'll discuss about your how to prepare your questionnaire and what is the question design. Thank you.